All right. Thank you everyone for coming. I really appreciate such a good turnout and people interested in water trail on the Trempealeau River. That is kind of going to be the main idea tonight. We really want to promote this tonight and what we can do as a group to kind of get this initiative started. But to get something like this started, we kind of have to think of a Friends of group too. So I'm briefly going to touch on the Friends of group, but mainly focus on the water trail tonight and what we can do. So starting off, I guess we can just start off with some introductions. Go around the room and say your name and maybe an organization you're here representing or why the water trail is important to you. So we can go, this way. Bob, if you want to start.
Hi, my name's Fred Ackley. I'm from Pigeon Falls. I belong to the Lions Club. Also belong to Weddell Pigeon Rod and Gun Club. I guess I'm interested in a friends group because my Emily and Joe Petrick were my great aunt and uncle, so I've got an interest in Petrick Park.
And can I have you just put your name and email or contact phone number?
I'm David Anderson. I'm with Whitehall Lions Club, and the canoe, kayak landing has been something we've been talking about for some time, so that's here representing Whitehall Lions.
I'm Mike Blaha. I'm here with the Elk Rod and Gun Club. We're currently developing a canoe kayak landing down by across from old 186, and we're here looking for money.
Bruce Knudsen. I'm the president of the Associated Rod and Gun Club of Trempealeau County.
Russ Coxley, Whitehall Lions Club, the Canoe Project.
I'm Ellen Coxling, and I'm with the Whitehall Lions Club, also working on the potential Larson Park Canoe Landing Improvement Project.
I'm Connie Guza. I was the Trempealeau County 4-H Horse Project leader for 12 years, but I work with Petrick Park a little bit with the trail there. I'm starting to get that going again and mowing that trail and interested in that now that my kids are out of 4-H and stuff. So I need another project. So maybe I'd see what it's all about. So.
Renee Lyon from Whitehall. I'm on the County Board of Supervisors, and I'm a very interested citizen in what Trempealeau County can offer.
I'm Todd Torson. I'm here in place of my wife for today. We're also very interested in what's going to be maybe coming about at the landing areas in both Petrick Park or Crossroads. We've kayaked the river multiple times, through the summers, and we've gone and got in and out. We usually try to get in at Independence and then go down from there, but very interested in what's up and coming.
Linda Schaefer, I'm with Whitehall Lions Club, working on the canoe landing in the park here.
Dave Schaefer, also with the Whitehall Lions Club and interested in the Larson Park canoe landing.
I'm Daryl Shabella. I'm also with the Independence Elk Rod and Gun Club, and along with Mike's interest, maybe some money and also a permit to pursue the goal we have started.
Kevin Bargander. I'm the director of WTCO and our digital media department.
Bob Gilso, Whitehall Lions. Also looking for some money for the canoe project we're working on.
And I'm Becky Gluin. I'm the fairly newly appointed county administrator, and I have a huge interest in tourism, and I've done a lot of tourism and marketing work in the past, and so I think that this is a real asset and opportunity for the county, so I'm excited about it, and I'm excited about the conversation tonight.
All right, let's jump into it a little bit here. So for the agenda tonight, I briefly touched on it, but we're looking at Water Trail Initiative, some Friends of planning, and was going to break up into small groups, but I think we can kind of accomplish this as a group with having the situation with our mics. I can kind of write up on our board, and that'll be good feedback for me. So that first slide will be our Trempealeau River Water Trail Initiative. So I'm going to go over what a water trail is here. A water trail is a designated route on the Trempealeau River that is designed and managed for recreational use, such as kayaking, canoeing, paddleboarding. Similar to hiking trails on land, a water trail provides a way for people to explore and enjoy the natural beauties of the Trempealeau River while engaging in outdoor activities. Providing safe passage and direction will be our focus moving forward. So I found a couple examples that I thought would be, one example in particular that I thought would be good to emulate with this. Chippewa River in the Eau Claire area just had a water trail that they did, and I thought this was a great kind of example for things to kind of look at, what things will kind of look like if we're going to get a water trail in our county, and what might we want to think about. So safety recommendations are highlighted here. So this is an example that Eau Claire, Visit Eau Claire had put out. They had a water trail that went in about 21, 22, somewhere in that range. And that they did some really good work on getting this initiative going. And there's some great things to kind of look at when we're thinking about just what do we need for a water trail. Things to think about are safety recommendations for sure. You can kind of see all of those highlighted there. Those are things that we're going to probably want to follow. And then navigational tips, as well as icons, working with land records, trying to do this type of thing as well. So we have kind of a section that we're going to be focusing in on in the middle section of the river. And a lot of you are this is why we have so many people from this section, because we have the help to maybe actually get something done here. I'll go forward what sections we're kind of focusing on as a county, but I thought this was great to kind of highlight on different opportunities you can have when you get down the road a little bit when it comes to your mapping. They have some historical data as well as kind of putting their ports down. So I'd kind of want to do something similar with that. Just give some history of the area and what's available, what things look like. That will all be great information if people are going online to wanting to canoe and they can find a document like this. Obviously, Eau Claire is a little bit bigger than us, but we have to kind of think about how can we make our water trail a little bit more vibrant. That's what I'd say. What other things can we think about? Activities, days, events, sponsors, that type of thing, to help make this better in our section. But yeah, so that's that. And then get back to the PowerPoint here, and I'll share my screen. Right. And then this is kind of the conceptual design planning that they went through for this process. Okay, I'm not able to open that one up, so we can move on. But basically, it's just the details of kind of how that brochure came to be and what to think about when you're first trying to get a water trail off the ground. Some key aspects to think about with the water trail and creation of it. Designation and mapping. So water trails are typically designated by government agencies, nonprofit organizations, or local communities, and they map out highlight points of interest, access points, and amenities and safety. So that's for designation and mapping. Access points, things to think about would be water trails often have designated access points where paddlers can enter and exit the water safely. These access points may include boat launches, docks, beaches, and we'd mostly be focusing on those canoe and kayak launches along the trail. Signage and markers, that's another thing we'll have to kind of think about, some interpretive signage, let people know where to go, as well as distances, how long things take. If you see like the Ontario, the recreation opportunities with canoeing in that area, they have clear marks of how long it takes to get from bridge to bridge. We're probably thinking about clear marks of how to go from port to port. Amenities and facilities. Depending on the size and popularity of the water trail, amenities such as rest areas, picnic spots, campsites, and restroom facilities may be provided along the trail. So there are some things to think about here with some different cities, some different organizations that have ports on the section we want to focus on. So that's all stuff we can kind of work together on, trying to make those amenities the best as possible. Environmental stewardship. Water trails are often to promote environmental stewardship and conservation efforts to protect natural habitats and ecosystems along the route. This may include initiatives to reduce pollution, preserve wildlife habitats, and promote sustainable recreational practices. So again, eventually we may want to get to the point where we have groups kind of reporting river conditions and letting us know kind of what's happening on the river. And this would all be kind of great for that. And also would provide opportunities, I think, for hunters, paddlers, and all sorts of different recreational opportunities. Community engagement. Water trails can foster community engagement by providing opportunities for recreation, education, economic development. Local businesses, tourism agencies, and community organizations may collaborate to support and promote a water trail. So there's a few things with this, like we have thought about maybe a possible business of a shuttle service that can pick you up from point A to point B. We're also maybe looking into something where you can rent for a series of dates. If we had a rental opportunity, then you could say, hey, you get this canoe for, say, 4 days, but you got to make sure it's back at this time or we'll be calling you. So those are all things that maybe we can work with our schools, work with our local towns and whatnot, towns, cities, and villages. Safety regulations. Safety is a priority on water trails, and paddlers are encouraged to follow safety guidelines and regulations. This may include wearing personal flotation devices and being aware of weather conditions and practicing proper paddling techniques. So that's something that we're probably, as a county, going to want to highlight at a good rate, just so people understand the safety and regulations that kind of goes along with the water trail, and reporting those conditions. That'll be kind of on the county once we establish some relationships, I think. So overall, water trails offer a unique way for people to connect with nature, enjoy outdoor recreation, and explore the natural and cultural heritage of the region. They can provide economic benefits by attracting visitors, supporting local businesses and communities, and enhancing the quality of life. One idea I kind of thought of the other day was what if we had some type of float fest from port to port in this kind of middle section that I'll touch on the next slide, and kind of promoted this stuff as a group. Hey, on this day where we want to have everyone stop into all these ports, it'd be a great opportunity to help promote some new areas. And if we get some of this stuff done that we want, like at the Lions Club at Colonel Larson Park, or we get this permit done for Bridge 186, and we get that clearing done, and that's ready to go, we're already going to have a good section of ports to be able to promote. So this is kind of what I've been talking about a little bit here, is these targeted areas. So Land Records was able to provide me with the distances between each ports yesterday, so I appreciate that. So from Colonel Larson to Four Seasons, it is 4 miles, or 4 miles at 4.75 miles. Four Seasons to Rotary Landing and Cross Road is 2.6 miles. Rotary Landing to Peachick Park, 2.5, and Peachick Park to Schultz, which is right across the river from the Deer Park in Arcadia, is about 3.75. So we do have some varying distances there, and about a 2-mile float I've heard takes anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. So kind of think about that length and that 4.7. Depending on the level of paddler you are, there might be some different options on what you want to do, and that all can kind of be decided by however you want to recreate. There is a possible chance of like promoting accessibility on the trail too, which I think would be good. If whenever you have something new, you gotta kind of have to think about accessibility. Ever since 2010, when ADA code went in, so you have to think about accessibility. And I think if we, as a group, are ever putting in anything new in this section, we should just be on the same page and kind of be communicating on what we're doing.
Question.
Sure.
Is this a linear mileage or the?
This is the way the river flows.
Did I hear you correctly to say it takes 2 to 3 hours to go 2 miles?
Yeah, I was guessing there. I've heard it takes 2 to 3. I heard it takes 2 to 3 hours, but I haven't personally done it myself. So one of these days we have to get out there and do some floating or do some paddling. Exactly. Absolutely, and that is something I'm going to be working with the club next week and trying to get that done, just so in case we end up wanting to go with a traditional launch. Either way, I'm going to be helping them with that permit, in the waterways permit, and working with Kevin Lean, I believe, on that. So next week I intend to get that permit, working on it and get it in by the end of the week. So that 186 would offer some more potential to this section. And then we had a water trail map, but I wasn't able to get into my work files, so I don't know if this one's going to work. We'll see. Yeah, I got the same thing. So basically, this was just a map that was done a few years ago when they were looking at first, or a couple of years ago when they were first looking into doing a water trail. And it just has these ports highlighted with icons and kind of how the river flows. All right. And do we have any questions before we move on to Friends of Group stuff?
Is it possible to extend the trail further towards Blair? The years ago, when they used to have canoe races in Whitehall, we always heard that it was such a tangled mess of deadfalls that nobody even considered canoeing above Whitehall.
Right.
But is it possible?
I think we would have to figure that out, you know, and yeah.
We tried coming down through there a couple of years ago and we ended up giving up.
The problem on that going north of Whitehall is the city of Whitehall sewer pipe crossing the river has come off the bottom and is sitting 1.5 feet above the water.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's too much.
I've notified the city multiple times. No one's ever taken action. The former city administrator of Whitehall knew about it, Ashley did, but nothing's ever been done about it. If we ever get a flood, a tree comes down, busts that pipe, the city of Whitehall will not have sewer system.
But they'll have it.
Yeah,
It'll be
back
going down
down.
to Trempealeau River.
Yeah, but that's what's gonna happen. I'm in contact with the DNR on it right now. The city's gonna get an education coming. The hard way. They've been ignoring it for a long, long time, and now they're pushing their luck too far.
Sure. Okay, anything else?
Well, I guess one of the things in considering like a trail, I know in past experiences is talking about like you have to have someone that can get in and use a chainsaw and clean up trees that are down so that you have a passable waterway. I know even just when I'm at the golf course and looking at just that leg in there, the water moves pretty good, and there's barriers that a person, it wouldn't be fun. You'd be caught up in the trees all the time and that are across the river. So in the past, when I've worked on things like this, we had a couple volunteers that went in and got in there and chopped and cut up wood. So I'm just kind of wondering, have you ever started that? Has that ever been talked about? Have you considered how it would be maintained over time because trees fall?
We can, from 186 to Petrix Park, it's completely unnecessary to cut anything down. It's wide open. There's places where there's trees that have fallen in, but it's just fish habitat. It's nothing that would need to be cleaned up.
There is a little
It's been like that for
cleanup.
40 years. So.
There is a little cleanup to do now, Daryl, because this last section or heavy rain, it took a few more trees down and stuff in
Yeah,
there.
but it's like that every
It
year.
wouldn't be
Some
any-
come and some go.
anything
Overall,
major.
it's never been an issue where it's blocked off and any.
Well, just from my experience, I don't know what your experience is either, but I'm talking like when my experience, I'm being on a quickly moving path, and if there are trees, you can quickly get into those and get caught tipped over and under the tree and stuck, and I mean it's a hazard for safety,
I've been doing this stretch for 40-some years.
Okay.
And it's not where do you start, where do you end? There's always gonna be trees, but there's always, if there is a tree falling in, and Todd can speak to this, there's plenty of room to go around it. It's nothing that needs to be addressed. It's a non-issue. And we've been down the river hundreds of times, and
Sure.
it's not an issue.
Okay.
From Whitehall to Blair, it is.
Okay.
But, yeah,
Okay.
but the stretch from 186 to Petrix, it isn't.
And I was talking to Kevin about maybe using the drone at some of the ports that the TV station has and getting some overhead angles on how that would look from port to port.
Yeah, and I've done some video of Petrick Park, and I got the river. It was probably a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But
That's a quick way to,
That's a good
get
idea.
an overview of what we need to do if we need to do anything, especially after a storm.
yeah, it's kind of the eye in the sky a
Yeah.
little bit.
Do you have, like, what you're talking about, that other leg on how, has anybody ever taken cleanup and done cleanup,
Yeah.
or?
We have old pictures of Whitehall Lions in chest deep water cleaning out about 40 years ago.
Yeah, it was,
And
we worked on that, and we spent numerous days taking trees out, but then nothing's been done, as far as I know, for, well, like Dave says, probably, well, at least close to 40 years.
And after that, a few years, I think it was a Mike Appleyard that presented to the Lions about another cleanup, and then he told us if you cut anything, you'd have to pull it out of the floodplain.
Right.
Is that still correct?
Yes, yes, it has to be.
So it's
pulled back
not
up
just,
off the shore.
okay, cut it, let it go,
No, no, you can't let them lay in the water. You have to pull them up on dry ground, any branches.
And how does that work with local landowners? That's the piece we don't really know too much about.
We're here at high watermark training. If you can cut it in the river, but you have to take it with you.
Okay.
If, once it's on the bank, if it's on the banks of the river, it belongs to that property owner.
Okay.
So you have to either ask them permission to cut it, or whatever.
If it's on the bank, but if it's in the river,
If it's
you
in
can
the
take it
river,
with
you
you.
can cut it, but you're supposed to take it out with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But we go cut, usually we keep, the Gambrels keep it open from our property down to Crossroads, you know, because we go down there, and if there's something in the way, we do cut it out.
Okay.
That's done that, yeah, just to keep it open for people.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, so if the county did the drone piece and got good identification of what needed to be taken care of, is there any group or anyone that would, you know, team up to take this stuff out? Or do we have to think of how we're gonna get that out of the river?
I'm not sure our Lions Club is capable of doing that work anymore. Most of us are probably well past that age,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
In the small group stuff, we can kind of think of, I've got a question like that, Becky, and we can kind of think of who are some other, like, we got to get the young people involved here a little bit more. If that's the schools or kind of reaching out to, maybe there's a college paddling group or something like that. I don't know. But kind of have to think, creatively here with that piece.
At one time, they used inmates out of, not the Black River Prison, but the place they go after Black River Prison over past the casino. There's a camp there. They've used them employees for cleaning out the Black River at one time for canoeing and that stuff.
Okay.
And they get paid a little bit for doing their work and that
Yeah.
stuff, and there are people there watching them. And they're very, very good guys to work with. I've helped them a couple times on it, and very nice.
It's not a bad idea.
One issue that we found is, and talking to Junior Prulik, you were at that associated meeting that night, and, you know, our club does a lot of that stuff on our own property and stuff, or different things, but when we have a work day anymore, it's hard to get people, and a lot of us are Daryl and my age, we're up in our 70s almost and stuff, and
Speak for
pretty
yourself.
damn hard for us.
Not 70 at night. But I'm really saying it's a non-issue. It really is, because one storm will knock a few trees in and take a few out, and you're never gonna get them all. You'd have to go through every time it rained, and it's just a non-issue. It's not, there's absolutely nothing to be concerned about. On the other side of Whitehall to Blair, yeah, but anything from 186.
What about Pigeon?
Pigeon Creek is tough. Ooh, that's terrible.
Is it?
Oh, I fished that.
There's
You did that.
a lot of really shallow spots there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a couple places where farmers have fences across the creek and.
Because we've had up to 100 canoes go on our 4th of July trip from Independence to Petrix, and it's, believe me, if those drunks can make it through there, the average person isn't gonna have any issues at all.
Sure.
There's nothing to worry about when it comes to brush over.
Okay, but I'm not familiar. I've only seen part of the river. So from Independence to Petrick Park is fine, but what part are you saying is not fine? Are we concerned about the whole river or just that
North.
piece?
From Larson Park to 186.
I can't speak from that
Yeah.
stretch, but I can speak from 186 down, and it's not a problem.
And do we want it, do you want it open? Would it be valuable to have that whole stretch open, I would think,
I think,
right? Well, okay.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
it
if they're
should at
talking about
least
putting
be,
in a landing at Larson Park, you've got
uh-huh, yeah.
path.
We should at least have it
Implying that it's safe
identified.
And practical, and
So that section need to clean up, the other section not so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. We'll touch on some more stuff with kind of more what we did here, but just a little bit more in-depth questions. So moving on, establishing a Friends of group. I think this water trail initiative and the Friends of group kind of go hand in hand with them being kind of big projects. You need some kind of help, and when it comes to some new signage, some great signage that we can get to the ports, this would be an excellent opportunity for that. So some things to think of that I'll give definitions of on this slide is what's on there right now. I'll get this back in slide view. Okay. So forming a Friends of group, this would be a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Would give us the ability to solicitate donations through a different organization, and also just have some other eyes and ears at the park. Have some help for our small department of me and the two Marks. So this would be great with establishing something that's new here in the county. County parks groups and Friends of groups kind of work hand in hand. I know this is something that's been talked about in the past, but nothing much was ever accomplished. So we kind of took the Friends of Petrick Park and want to kind of make it more broad so it includes the water trail as well, and call it Friends of Trempealeau County Parks. But a lot of it is going to be about Petrick and how can we improve that park with what we want to do with park improvements in the next few years. So I kind of established some key points in establishing a Friends of group, and you can see the headings there, and I'll tell you kind of what they mean. So define your mission or purpose. Clearly allocate the mission and the purpose of the Friends of group. What goals do you want to achieve? What community needs will you need to address? Ensure your mission aligns with and requires nonprofit status. And I'll just go through these and we can open it up for discussion. Gather a board of directors. Assemble a board of directors who are passionate about your cause and willing to guide the organization. The board will provide governance, oversight, and strategic direction. Make sure your board members understand their legal responsibilities. Develop bylaws. Create bylaws that outline the structure and operations of your organization. Bylaws typically include details about membership, board composition, officer roles, decision-making processes, and meeting procedures. Incorporate your organization. File articles of incorporation with your state secretary of state office to officially establish your nonprofit corporation. Include language in your articles of incorporation that specifies your organization's nonprofit purpose. Apply for 501c3 tax-exempt status. Once incorporated, apply for tax-exempt status with the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, by submitting Form 1023. This process can...
The ghost here again?
This process can be complex and may require detailed documentation of your organization's activities, finances, and governance. Create a strategic plan. Develop a strategic plan that outlines your organization's goals, objectives, and strategies for achieving your mission. This plan will guide your activities and help you measure your process over time. Establish policies and procedures. Develop policies and procedures to govern your organization's operations, including financial management, fundraising, volunteer management, and program implementation. Having a clear policies in place will promote transparency, accountability, and consistency. Last few, I apologize. Build community support. Engage with your community to build support with your organization's missions and programs. This may involve outreach, networking, collaboration with other organizations, and public relation efforts. Recruit members and volunteers. Recruiting members and volunteers who are passionate about your cause and willingness to contribute their time, skills, resources, and support to your organization's work. Fundraise and manage finances. Develop a fundraising plan to secure the financial resources needed to sustain your organization's operations and programs. Implement sound financial management practices to ensure transparency, accountability, and compliance with legal requirements. Maintain compliance. Stay informed about legal and regulatory requirements for nonprofit organizations, including tax filings, reporting obligations, and governance standards. Regularly review and update policies, procedures, and practices to ensure compliance. So when it comes to this Friends of group, there is some things that we're kind of starting to look at. We kind of established this list of interested individuals and are looking for people throughout the county that kind of fit some needs. You'd need to hire or have someone in charge of the Friends group who's passionate, that wants to lead it. And then might have to have a couple people that support them, secretary, treasurer. But yeah, you'd probably have to have a president and go through an election process. So it's a lot on the front end, but once you get that 501c3, it's kind of, sky's the limit. You kind of have the ability to do some real good work in the county in assistance with me. And it's something that I think would be great for the park and just for the county in general, to have a Friends of group that isn't so specific, but is actually working for complete county goals, with the Water Trail Initiative being on the front end. So I'll go over these benefits that you see here. Some benefits of having a Friends of group are park grants, organized volunteer work days, a unified voice for the park, and possible potential parks in the future. Fundraising opportunities, work that has the potential to change the way people think about parks in Trempealeau County. Really want this to be a team effort with me, the two parks groundskeepers, and this group. Chances to meet new people in this group that kind of share that same vision of helping others wanting to recreate. So I'll open it up a little bit here. So a lot there. Is there a more kind of first steps of simplistically, what are our first steps in kind of looking or kind of going towards a Friends of group in the future? Does anyone have any comment about that? Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
What's the likelihood of this group thinking that, is there someone out there that would be passionate about doing something like this and taking the charge of it? Have you run across anyone?
Okay.
We want your, that's what we're looking for, is feedback. It's all right. If you would, if you hear of someone that's interested in doing that. The positive is a 501c3 can accept donations and, fundraising and things like that. So I think that's and the grant piece of it, is writing for grants. But I think that's probably, one of the biggest parts of that, having a friends group.
That 501c3 does open you up to a lot of grants and stuff. Like, we're working right now to get funding from the state through the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund. The Associated Club, they're working with them right now with that same group because they've just purchased another 100 acres. What they'll do is they'll reimburse you 100 or 50% of what you spend, and not just the purchase of the land. Anything that we spend going into that canoe landing will also be reimbursed at 50%.
That's a piece I didn't know. So I said that's a piece I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, it opens you up to a lot of different grants and stuff. But you have to be a 501c3 to be eligible for it. And getting it it took us about a year.
Yeah, and I know there's some other rod and gun clubs, like Strum is trying to become a 501c3 right now, in junior. So it'll be good for us to at least, have this information for people that are interested in that same idea.
How much involvement would your department have in this group?
I could see there being a lot of involvement initially, but I wouldn't want to be, I would want whoever the president is to, I would want it to be their group. I could see myself participating in a lot of meetings and being at a lot of meetings and collaborating a lot initially and continuously, but probably more at the start and then wanting them to kind of take the reins.
And with some of this paperwork, you'd probably you'd know about that and share and help with that.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. All right. I'll move on to the next question. Are there any local contacts, I guess we kind of asked this, that we should consider reaching out to? Is there an organization or a group that we're not thinking of that might have someone interested in an idea like this?
Maybe the FFA groups.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking something like that too.
FFA groups, 4-H clubs would be probably have an interest in something like this.
Right.
White House got an ecology club.
Yeah.
Yeah, for years. I used to be in that club. It was awesome.
That ecology club is doing some great work.
Sure.
Yep,
in the
and his
area.
dad.
Yeah.
I went with his dad. It was awesome.
Okay.
Terry McCall.
Yeah, so maybe we could get some help from some younger folks. I think that's a good idea, but we wouldn't want them to obviously be probably the president of the organization, someone that's under 18.
Sometimes they can provide the muscle.
Absolutely.
Would you object if I had Scott McConnell contact you guys?
Scott McConnell.
He's obviously a young guy.
Okay.
I think you beat that up. 'Cause
Huh.
Nothing against anybody sitting in these around the tables here, but none of us are getting any younger. So we might need, as far as leading a group, so, no offense, I'm not any younger either.
He's
No,
gonna be
yeah.
what,
It's
40?
true.
30? How old is he? 30? 40? He was a little kid when I was there.
Well, great. We appreciate that feedback and gives us something to work on a little bit here. So, are there any kind of final comments on the information presented? But
Yeah,
I have
great.
one more slide if no one has any comments. Okay. So I said dependent on the size, but I think we're just going to kind of write on our fallen down poster board. I'll put that back up. So I've got 3 questions. So I think it would be good just to maybe get a response as a group for maybe one for each one with the time we have left. We got about 10 minutes. So, yeah, want to keep you guys to the time that was listed. Know everyone's busy, so I appreciate everyone coming out here. It means a lot. Thank you. So what groups would be best to reach out to that are local to our area? So we've got the Whitehall Ecology Club. Is there anyone else we can think of? Is there another school that has something similar? We could make a group effort with the schools.
I don't know about an ecology club, but Whitehall, Independence, Arcadia, I'm sure have all got an FFA chapter.
Yeah.
There's got to be 2, 3, 4 4-H clubs that are in the area.
Independence is a pretty good 4-H club there, Daryl, won't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, his wife runs it, so.
They're spread kind of thin right now, but I think after the fair, they'd talk, listen.
Okay. What about like the northern and southern end of the county? Do those schools like GET and Osseo, do they kind of have the same clubs?
Yeah.
I think so.
They should, yeah.
I think every school in the county's got an FFA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it's some type of conversation or email to all the FFA teachers. Maybe customize something that fits their group a little bit. But yeah, I think that'd be a great way to get some extra hands.
My question is our people from Gale Electric, Osseo, and all that gonna get involved in something that's so local here?
Yeah, yeah. Eventually, I'd like to expand, but we need to start somewhere, and we kind of have a good system of ports right now in that center section of the river. So maybe it is just a conversation with the schools that are local for right now, but expand in time, I think, is a good.
It don't hurt to ask, but I'm just saying, I really don't see a lot
Yeah.
of.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Hmm?
I think you're right. I mean, eventually, I suppose you could extend down the river from Arcadia.
I would still ask them, but they might be offended if we don't ask them.
Right, yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Worst they can do is say,
Yeah.
Alright.
I think you could include all of them in the county, because that's still giving them an opportunity to participate.
Yep.
It's gonna offer a recreation opportunity.
Yeah, and I know a lot of these high school age kids got some volunteer hours that they have to accomplish before they can. I'm not sure what grade it is anymore they got to do that by, but that's something that I remember having to do. So keep that in mind. And I like the point of, hey, make it fair for everybody. Trying to do that with other initiatives, with recreation. So yeah, keeping things fair. I do like that point, so I appreciate it. Second question, are there any local donors that would support this initiative?
Tri-City.
you go ahead, you call Darren, let him, I'm fine with that.
I'm sure if you talk to Ashley, they would probably get some money.
From who?
Ashley?
One thing that scares me about going to Ashley
Yeah.
is how much is he gonna demand in return?
Oh, well, you have a point there too.
Yeah,
And become the Awana group.
he'll put in so much money and then demand that you match, and
That or do it a certain way, I think.
Yeah.
And we might have some other things that we'd rather have him put money into in the county that we can maybe do this internally where we want to save that conversation, but who knows? Anybody else?
You brought up Ashley. Ashley for the Arts, they donate a lot of money for man hours worked. So if we had to get this put together and we get a booth down there where we can get some of that donated money that doesn't bring, I know Ron and Todd very well, but we leave them kind of on the outside. It's their festivities, but they donate back to us without them going to him and say, hey, we need $100,000.
Yeah, I do know that they, for the Whitehall football
Yeah.
team here and all them, they've been good with that.
Yeah, so,
But I think they use the park a lot for their, actually for the arts too. It's
yeah, they
like
do,
a major
yeah, for parking.
camping and shuttle buses.
Yeah. And we just got a new tent for our music series, so maybe we could pitch our new tent up at Ashley somewhere. Promote our friends
What about-
of Water Trail.
What about approaching somebody like Shields or some of them major,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah,
it would
absolutely.
benefit them if people were buying canoes and stuff and they sell them.
Yeah, and local businesses too,
Over.
you know?
yeah.
There's like ways we can have people sponsor, parts of the trail or something like that. I was thinking about doing that with the disc golf course that's at Petrick Park, having people sponsor holes. Kind of be maybe the same type of thing. You could, get local businesses involved too.
May I ask a question for the White Alliance?
Sure.
Yeah, we've been approached by a person who's very interested in improving the Melby Park, Larson Park canoe landing, and is willing to invest several $1,000s in it. And we're to a point where we're looking at making plans and pricing and so forth. Where does this meeting leave us in regard to that? Are we just going to wait a couple of years, or
I don't
how do
want
we
to.
proceed?
So whenever I've reached out to the DNR, they've been kind of slow. But the same process you guys have done, I've tried to follow up with them a couple times. So I've done emails, calls, so I'm having a hard time. I'm having the same problem as the Whitehall Lions is with that. So I don't know if we just have to maybe look for someone more local with the DNR and kind of have them push the person we're trying to talk to internally. Because, yeah, it's a little ridiculous when you want a response and it takes them a month or two to get back.
If you're lucky.
Yeah,
But they
so.
want something they want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me the, like, what's the process? What do you have to get permission for? There's already existing put-in places at most of these places, right? So it's just replacing and putting in new?
With the Lions, they're having to fund the whole project. The city's not pitching anything in.
Through the DNR.
Mm-hmm. The waterways permit.
And put in a new launch?
There's nothing.
If there's
You've been
nothing
down
there.
there, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing.
yeah.
So is
Okay.
there a launch there, or?
It's just kind of
It's not permitted.
Okay.
Lynn Johnson thought it was, but the DNR responded, no, it's
You
not.
walk in there,
Okay.
Yeah.
but it says canoe landing on the sign.
Yeah, it's just like a
Right.
clearing and then,
You
yeah.
can put in there, but it's not real convenient.
No,
right, right.
and nobody's taking care of it.
When you
That's
put in,
another
do you just, is there a land, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, yeah?
There's a little notch in the channel
No, not him, the other.
where you can bring the canoe down and you just wade in and away you go, I guess. It's not a big deal, but it's not a, well-prepared landing.
Mhm. And Todd, when you go from Independence to Petrick, you put in at a launch, or do you? Is that Todd?
Todd.
Oh, who's in the tan
Daryl.
shirt?
That's Daryl.
Daryl, I'm sorry.
We have, by Four Seasons, there's one we built about 30 years ago. Then there's one by Rotarings that we built about 20 years ago.
Okay,
And with the one we're gonna put in by 186, it's kinda like you're saying, I mowed it 2 weekends ago and weed whacked down to it's like a wild animal trail into the water you can use, but it's not you could go there to see, but
sure,
we wanna put something just like is by the crossroads, Rotarings in there.
yeah.
And we have a DNR approved plan for that. I shared with Jack, and he's but the DNR, what's holding us back more than anything
Is the DNR.
DNR permit, because it was told explicitly, you don't do this without a permit.
Yeah,
So I wish I
okay.
wouldn't have asked. you know.
It's gonna cost money to put it in. We're looking at, for 186, right around $20,000. It's gonna be 13,000 just for excavation and hauling excess dirt out. And then rock is probably gonna be another 7,000 for rip wrapping and everything like that. So you're looking at an expensive
If
adventure
you
there.
follow the rules, it's not cheap, you know.
Yeah, right.
You know,
I guess going back though, sorry, Mike.
I discussed with Jack, you know, just going around the DNR and kind of just letting us do it ourselves. But Jack brought up a good point. You're right on Highway 186 there. You're gonna have everybody watching you, and then they're gonna be getting the phone calls that, so we decided to go the proper route, and I'm really wishing we wouldn't have.
No, if we would've went done it ourselves, it'd have been done already. We've been mowing grass there and picking up, you know. But we decided to do it the legal way, which maybe.
Better off begging for forgiveness than asking for permission.
But this one, I don't think
Sometimes.
is one of those.
Hmm?
This is not one of those.
Yeah, yeah.
But when it's done, it'll be done, and the one by one, or by road rings we did, it was actually 20 years ago this summer, and it's held up just perfectly. You can go there anytime, it's usable, it's very, very low maintenance.
Verge?
Now, one other thing I want to bring up here, besides the canoe landing we're putting in there, we do have 11 acres there now, and there is some really nice trails. There's an area for picnics, or, you know, we're not going to advertise that camping is available, because then we'd have to put in bathrooms. We can't have any structures down there because it's a floodplain. We can't even have porta potties in there, is my understanding. So, but it will be open to the public, not just the canoe landing. That whole 11 acres will be available for hiking trails, some beautiful fishing holes there, and we do plan on doing some work on the river there too, to make some, to habitat work.
Yeah, the fishing holes are cool there. I agree.
That's on the north side of the bridge.
We can go look at that someday,
The
Becky.
land is be on the east side.
Jack, I was just wondering if, like this
Yeah.
smaller
Yeah.
project for Whitehall,
Between the road and the river.
would they be able to apply for conservation?
Then 186, or out,
Good.
town of Lincoln.
Right,
I
right.
I don't think those applications are, I think they're due pretty soon, right? July or August?
I'm not sure on the conservation.
I think so, but that's something that the Whitehall landing might be able to apply for that and do that smaller project that way. You could probably talk to Haley about it.
Yeah, I will.
Is there a way to coordinate all of the like, it sounds like, how many put-ins are we looking at doing?
5 in this section.
5 in this section. Is there a way to coordinate the whole thing with the DNR at one time, rather than just doing Whitehall, and so that we get the DNR that?
I've tried
That's what
having
you're-
that conversation
that's what you're
with
doing?
Gina Keenan is her name.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's.
No, we don't want to stop him right now. He's really moving along on ours.
We're shovel ready. We're ready to go. We're just waiting.
You're waiting on the DNR also?
We'd start tomorrow morning if we
Okay.
get the permit.
Okay.
So, we started already mowing and things like
Yeah.
that.
And I think, because that one is so visual and right next to the state highway, I think it's important that you get that done because of the.
Well, personally, I think that should be the first one done.
What?
Personally, I think that should be the first one done.
Well,
I
like
may
I
have a
said,
bet-
because of
Yeah.
the visibility and the easy access there, I mean, that would be a great marketing tool right off the bat.
Are they required to have? Okay, it's right on the channel,
Well, they're saying that they are.
But they're,
Well, pretty much anytime you mess along the river or public waterway, yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's not an aspect.
That's the one we're using.
So, I want to go back to this gentleman's point.
30 yards before
We
the
need
bridge.
to kind of like communicate with each other and work together, because we're gonna be following a lot of the same processes. I have one at Peacher Park, Lions got one at Colonel Larson, you guys got one at 186, so I think just, once we do it once or twice, we'll have a good understanding of what kind of needs to be done if we want to expand this water trail.
Hey, one other thing I do have, I shared it with him, it's the DNR engineered plan. that can be used, it's pretty standardized, with a little tweaking could be used about anywhere
Yeah.
on a Trempealeau River.
Is that
No.
concrete or is that wood?
Concrete.
And how much does it, do you know the cost
Cattle
that it would
stocks.
cost?
Oh, depends on, it's,
got 'em from
like
Old
Mike
Deer.
said, we're bouncing in that
They
$15,000
replaced
to
our,
$18,000
Okay.
range.
where the
but-
cattle
Okay.
walk on. we
But
got
there,
them
it might be a
slots
little
on
less
it.
if,
That's what
where
they're-
we're at
that's what
here,
they call
you
for
have
it.
to go to 7-1 slope.
And so we've
And the one by
got 'em
186 is about 2.5 feet higher than rotering, so it involves a longer
Yep,
and more dirt removal, but
Okay.
at a little cost.
All right. Well, we got one question left here, and I'll get you guys out of here. What are some ways to gather information on river conditions and find assistance for cleanup? So I
Yeah,
think
right
a
there with the drone.
Yep. Kevin, I'll be reaching out.
Yeah, it'll be cool too if, when we're done with all this, to get some footage of, promo pieces,
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you need help doing that?
to get footage of the,
For the drone going down and stuff, or can you pretty much take care of that yourself?
yeah, I can just, gotta show me where to go and, kind of what you want, and if you want pictures or video, but yeah, I can pretty much do it all by myself, as long as you let me know where.
'Cause I know all the landowners down through there, and I can pretty much get access from everybody.
Okay.
okay, that's nice.
All right.
That includes this whole thing.
Anything else?
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for the Whitehall group. The donor that's interested in developing the Larson Park situation
Yeah.
is suggesting a floating dock and handicap accessible
Yep.
launch.
Mhm.
Are any of these other locations including something like that?
We just had this conversation with PTED, and I have to kind of provide them with some better examples of, and pictures of that floating dock that Steve Howe from Cooley Region Docks gave me. Quote he gave me just for the materials was about $12,800. So installation, you're probably getting into the $17,000 to $18,000 range. Then you're taking that dock out during the winter and winterizing it too. So I gotta figure out a spot to put it in the city of Whitehall. We gotta find a spot to put it. But maybe we have some storage available since it's kind of a group effort, but we'll see.
But none of the state parks have a dock. None of them. There's docks for boat landings. The kayakers, canoers, they'll never use a dock because you try to get in, they tip over.
Yeah.
They'll go on the upper side of the landing where it's nice, flat, easy walking into a canoe. They don't want a dock. They said that's the worst thing they ever put in, is a dock.
Question, what about ADA?
Yeah, I think I've tried to reach out to Highway and maybe blacktopping is an option, or maybe we have to dump gravel right away, and then go about it that
I mean,
way.
is it something that we're gonna have to address doing this going forward? I never thought about that before.
Yeah, anything, like I said, anything new.
I think really though, it's only if you're the county is really more,
Yeah,
from that park probably. I don't think
Yeah.
any of the other sites you have to,
yeah, I think you'd be okay.
yeah.
But for me, yeah, that's something I'm kind of thinking about for sure. There's other counties that have put in new ones, like the traditional launch, recently, within 2010. Juneau County did that. But they also are incorporating new docks too, so they're kind of doing both ideas. Thank you very much.
And I think it was the committee really was stressing like that would be important to the committee and considering that.
So yeah, we're struggling with that too ourselves and trying to see what the best option is and kind of agree with it as a group. Anything else?
I have seen just a concrete pad leading down to a river, and, I mean, someone in a wheelchair accessing the river by that, and they very much appreciated that, so, I don't know. I mean, if you have that access, plus they have people that they, friends that they go with generally and help, I guess, but
And there
could be
was
an
one,
option.
like your guys' idea when I went to your meeting on May 6th was that board that overhung on the river. Is that right? Is that still kind of what you guys are thinking about doing, or this
I
new
don't
donor's
know,
got other plans? Okay. Well, yeah, I appreciate everyone being here. This was a great turnout, and we got some good feedback, had a good conversation. This meeting is recorded, so the organizations that weren't able to be here, I might be able to share with them and get some more support. And I definitely have some work to do when it comes to reaching out to the right type of people. So thank you for coming by tonight. I really appreciate it. And feel free to reach out, email or phone, Trempealeau County Parks and Rec. We've got a Facebook page. You can find contact info on our website for Trempealeau County Parks or our Facebook page. So don't hesitate to reach out.